Wayne Aquina. Now, there's a story about the North Carolina system, and this is attached, I guess, in some way with God knows what might happen when it comes to the ACC. In fact, Brian Murphy from WRAL will join us at the end of the hour. The board making moves to try and stop North Carolina or NC State from not just leaving the ACC, but one leaving rather than the other. There is, in fact, Brian will come in and discuss kind of the politics involved. Both will need the Board of Governors approval. And it's a 24-member Board of Governors. The Governance Committee approved the move that they have the final say earlier today.
I mean, if you look at history around the country, this worked for A&M and Texas until the governor changed. And then when the governor changed and the politics shift and there were enough people to not believe that they had to be tied together, then obviously it all ended. So, but if this is the best ditch effort they have to keep those teams in the ACC, then it will. But ultimately, money talks too. So it'll be amazing. Like everybody can stand on. And that's how it works in the government. Everybody can stand on principle until they see money, and then they're like, principles are stupid. So that we'll see. But that's worked in the pay. It worked. A&M and Texas were tied together for a long time because the politicians in the state believe that they should be together. Now they're obviously going to be back together. But when A&M got to go to the SEC, it was because there were no, the governor was Rick Perry at the time. He was a former Yale leader. There was nothing standing in the way. And when the A&M powers that be said, Rick, we're going to go to the SEC, do whatever you want. I don't give a crap.
I think there's a lot of certainly it's understandable why a lot of the realignment accounts that are celebrating this is like it's the biggest news that's happened in a while, and it's the most notable news, I guess, that's happened in a couple of weeks. But I think the thing to pay attention to is, one, let's not treat this as though it's happening and happened and going to happen. There's a lot of UDs here. There's a lot of UDs doing a lot of heavy lifting. This could, this should, this would. What do all those mean? That it hasn't happened. And that's what you see, a lot of UDs in this story. Now, we saw with UCLA, they ended up having to pay a bunch of money to the Cal system, right? Because they needed the permission basically there's a whole to-do when they decided to bolt for the Big Ten. And then there was wait a second here. We've got to put this under review. And they ended up paying some money and they ended up getting their way in the end, right? And this sounds like that's politicking and exactly what would go on here in a way, in that they're not just going to be able to say, hey, we're leaving, bye. There would be a lot of people that would have to agree to it and to allow it, and to then, of course, obviously plan for what that would mean for NC State, because let's face it, this is not there's a one-way thing here. It's not NC State leaves and they have to bring North Carolina with them. That would not be the way this would go. This would be, hey, North Carolina is going to be the school to leave, so we've got to protect NC State. That's what this is.
Yeah.
This is politics, is all that this is. It's not something that's absolutely happening.
Nothing imminent. It's just kind of, again,
it's politics.
Listen to us. We got to act like we're making our money, right?
It's politics. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. And so they're protecting NC State, or making the steps to start to protect NC State in the scenario that North Carolina were to, have the opportunity to bolt to the SEC or to the Big Ten, and they want to ensure, I'm sure, that North Carolina State would have a spot at one of those tables as well. Now, I don't know if either one of those conferences would go along with that per se. I also don't think that necessarily is the only way that could happen, because like with Cal and UCLA and that whole situation, you come to an agreement and you let them go because it's in the best interest for everybody. So this is an expected story, because you weren't just going to have NC State out there with nobody in the government in North Carolina just doing anything to not protect them. So I think this was to be expected. I think it's good news if you're NC State, but I don't think it means, because when I talk about the reactions from like the realignment Twitter, I saw a lot of NC State fans taking like a victory lap, and it's like, no, it's not quite what this is, I wouldn't say, but it is good news for you. It's not like the opposite of them saying this, and they said, hey, NC State, sorry.
North Carolina, you want to leave?
Go right ahead. Sorry, Wolfpack. I mean, this is the opposite of that, so that's good, but it also isn't like a final determination. So we'll see where this takes us. This all seems very early stages. As we've seen with Florida State, This thing is going to be a process, and certainly North Carolina is going to be involved to some extent. So this is something to note, but it's a lot of uds, and let's see where it goes the rest of the way.
And we'll have an FSU note here in just a second.
I would call this a
posturing.
Yeah, but like it was kind of like a bulletproof vest. Like, yeah, if you shoot them in the chest or the back, like they'll be all right. They'll knock down, but like you can still shoot them somewhere else. You know, like that's the other thing that they'll have to worry about. But they have a nice little cushion here, a nice protection, something around it. But it doesn't take much to switch the politics around.
Anytime somebody leaves for another conference, there's going to be schools. It happened when A&M left. It happened when Texas decided to leave, or where else. By the way, I was wondering about this, and then we get to the FSU note. Cal and the California system was going to have UCLA offset some revenue because they were going to the Big Ten. Does that still happen with Cal getting money from the ACC?
Yeah, probably. I don't think they're going to go back and be like, yeah, you know what? We made a deal, because they're still going to say we had to make this deal because of you. So
Okay.
that's going to be their argument.
I'm wondering if maybe John Wilner would get down the road.
We wouldn't be having to fly to Winston-Salem, North Carolina for every other sport,
Right,
if not for UCLA and USC. So that's going to be their defense. It's like, yeah, we need you to pay for our travel to go to Clemson, South Carolina, a place we have only gone once every 25 years for something because it was.
I think they should
special.
I think UCLA should not have to pay all the full throttle because they're headed. I'm just asking.